Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
A new season, a new sense of opportunity, a championship that runs through the entire year. It has been one fantastic season in 2022, but for this, the 2023 season, we head over to the European Grand Prix here at the Nurburgring. What a place to start off a season full of technical prowess and challenge in a championship that mirrors the likes of the Formula One calendar. This is your iRacing Grand Prix Tour, and it's here on SimSpeed TV. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone watching around the world. My name is Jake Sperry. Jay Kennedy alongside me here for today's action. Jay, this is the Nurburgring. It's a track that has been forever historicalized and chronicled as a track which certainly does test the best from only the, I would say, good to very good. This is one of those tracks where you certainly see early who's got pace and who hasn't.
It helps if I turn my mic on. Hello, everyone. This is going to be very, very fun. And we said last year that we were trying to get the season on screen, but we couldn't quite make it happen. But this year, to bring this full coverage of this season is going to be awesome. As you said, though, this track will separate the men from the boys. It will separate the good from the bad. It will stretch the field out very, very quickly as we zoom on in. But the other side of that is if you push too hard, tyres will wear too quickly. We're going to see some huge strategy plays come out in this season as well. So I think this is a perfect track to start the season on. Strategy is going to be key, and we're going to talk about it for 23 races.
We certainly are. 15 turns around this circuit, clockwise variation, a 5.14 kilometre circuit. With this layout since 2002, the construction of the AMG Arena being the brand new addition to this track. What is very interesting to keep in mind as well, this is the spiritual home of sim racing. You keep an eye on what Sim Racing Expo is, and that going on in Dortmund a little bit later on this year. This is the track which sim racers look at and go, well, if there is any circuit that means the world in terms of what you do with it, this is the one that you've got to go out and put everything together with. There are your DRS activation zones, and then the places where you can use it all the way along that opening stretch to turn one, and then the climb up through the Advan Arch towards that Vidal chicane. Jay, two places to make the moves. It's a tough circuit. We're expecting a bit more downforce here, so DRS maybe not as palatable as other tracks.
Yeah, actually, watching the practice session not that long ago, there was a lot of drivers that weren't even using DRS in practice, so I'm guessing a lot of drivers not going to stress too much about it. But as I said before, 23 races we've got coming up. How cool is this that we're going to do a full season calendar throughout the entire championship season?
We certainly are. Of course, we've got the likes then of VIR, which will be 2 weeks from today. You look down through, of course, anything that matches up on the iRacing service to its real-world counterpart will be there. So you've got a fantastic stretch of Barcelona, Montreal, the Red Bull Ring, Silverstone, the Hungaroring, Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, Zandvoort and Monza. But I do like some of the small additions that are there. Magny-Cours, for example, the French Grand Prix, the Motor City Grand Prix at Belle Isle promises to be a spectacle. And then we finish off with the Grand Prix of Indianapolis over at 16th Street in Georgetown.
Yeah, one of that I'm actually looking forward to is going to be Sebring. I think that'll be a fantastic track for these cars, so that's going to be a fun race when we get there in a few weeks' time as well. But yeah, cool to see some old Formula circuits on the schedule, some circuits that we would love to see the cars at in real life, and some tracks that we will never see the cars at in real life, like the Phillip Island. We'll never see one of these cars race there, so it's going to be awesome to see the different dynamic of all of the different tracks. Talking about today's racing though, the drivers are currently in qualifying. They get 2 attempts to get their lap in. 61 laps. Must use both tyre compounds. Tyres are going to be key. We're going to talk about it each and every race. People will get bored of us talking about it so much, but it is the key to this series, is how much tyre you've got and how much tyre you can use.
Yep, you've got the soft, the medium, and the hard tyre available for it. So you know that when it comes to racing, you've got a lot of chances to make things happen during this race. And because this is a full FIA Formula One distance of 61 laps, 314 kilometers worth of racing action, there is a lot of room for availability on strategy. But qualifying has just brought itself to a close, so we can bring for you the starting grid, and it is Ben Fuller who is on the pole position then with a brilliant time, a 127.634, 0.4 of a second clear of Anthony Catt, who's put a brilliant time to get up on the front row, with Jordan Gronkowski in third and Aurelien Baif in fourth position. Luka Szykomski will start from fifth, with Danilo Sanfilippo in sixth position, and then you've got Matteo Ugolotti just behind on the fourth row in seventh position, ahead of James Dempster, who lines up in eighth. Corey Sharbo starts ninth, with John Pat Kelly in 10th, Victor Awad going from 11th, and Kent Nielsen in 12th position overall. Following that, you've got Paulo Reagan in 13th. Jason Green starts in 14th, a little bit down the order for Marco Sanfilippo. He'll go from 15th position with Marcel Fassbender for company. Both of them really off the pace, with Yestin Chapelone there in 17th and Timothy Vaughan in 18th. 2 drivers did not set a representative qualifying time. Those starting from the back will be Adam Webb and Thomas Veek, the Dane, and they will have work to do over the course of this race. It is a congested, bottlenecked run to turn number 1, where we can see some troubles. And of course, we're driving around with this brand new Mercedes W13 AMG performance car. And what a circuit to start for the Mercedes machine around a track with a Mercedes arena to showcase everything that it's capable of. Racing line then for the drivers on the odd side, so they're going to have themselves a really good opportunity here in Formula A action, the iRacing Grand Prix Tour, to make this a reality for them. They know how tough this race is going to be, and it's going to be long, grueling, and arduous as they look to battle. Just waiting for John Pat Kelly to get gridded up, or will he start from pit lane? The answer is it will be a start from pit lane for John Pat Kelly. Did not want to start in the middle of the field, so the lights will come on for the start of the 2023 season. Green flag in the air, and we are underway. It's a great start by Ben Fuller. He gets the jump he wants. Not so much by Jordan Gronkowski. He's going to be shuffled back into the pack as they run down into turn 1 for the first time, looking for as much run as they can. Anthony Catt looking good and solid as they go through a clean getaway then from everyone up through the Mercedes-Benz Arena for the first time. Ugolotti has had a sensational start. He's going to get down the inside, potentially of Aurelien Baif, having to go around the outside of turn 4. Big wiggle on the cold tyres, and just like that, Baif will continue to scrap here to turn 5, and Ugolotti's up to third from 7.
Yeah, great start from Ugolotti, and Gronkowski, he's dropped a little bit while there was that battling, but then closed it up very, very quickly under brakes as they were too wide. But what a clean start, considering we were 4 wide in the braking zone at turn 1. I thought there was no way we were going to get through clean, but the guys have done a great job. Interesting on tyres, Gronkowski, the only driver in the field to start on the soft compound tyre. Everyone else starting on the medium, so we're looking at a pit stop around about lap 25, lap 30, to then swap over to the softs for everyone. Be interesting to see what Gronkowski does with the softs on now. No DRS for the first 2 laps as well, so no overtaking with the DRS help. But yeah, Baif, here he comes. Not going to do it though.
Well, he had to back out of it, and then has a second little stab into the Vidal chicane, trying to find the move. Look at how twitchy Matteo Ugolotti's Mercedes is, as now Gronkowski under pressure as Corey Sharbo now looks to try and get through. Started ninth, did Corey, and he's now looking to really go for it. The American will have a line then in towards the opening corner. Look at how much they can close on the brakes down the inside. Sharbo gets it stopped at the apex and makes the place. Dempster behind as well, has Lukasz Szykomski for a little bit of company as well. Marcel Fassbender has gained 7 places off the start. He is right behind this and trying to charge through. Qualifying only gives you the best possible chance. We take a look on board with Marcel Fassbender as he charges through. I want to note conditions though here, Jay. It is cold, it is muggy, 23 degrees, just 72 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, which is probably why everyone's starting on the medium. We heard that the soft is not as wearing as a lot of drivers would anticipate with the cool conditions that this race seems to be producing. So a lot of drivers switching to the soft a lot earlier than they had thought in pre-season testing that they would be able to do. That's why we're seeing a lot of drivers start on the medium with only the one on the soft. And the interesting thing with that is Gronkowski starting on the softs, he's actually lost positions, even though he's starting on the soft compound tyre from 3rd back to 6th.
Well, that just tells you all you need to know. He's struggling to get that into an operating window. You feel he's going to have a look up the inside at Vidal, opens it up. Sharbo had to leave the room, and as they hold each other up, suddenly they're all going to converge. James Dempster all trying to thread the needle. Nearly didn't work. Almost contact behind by Marcel Fassbender, which could have been trouble in behind. There's trouble behind. Off the road goes Lukasz Szykomski, who is not happy there as he finds himself at the rejoining of the Nordschleife and this south section. But brilliant stuff. Still defending needed then by Gronkowski as he sweeps around the outside and holds the place.
Marco Sanfilippo also starting to make some moves as well. Adam Webb started in 19th. He's up to 13th as well, so he's making moves. But Fassbender, biggest mover at the moment, as along with Adam Webb, both up 6 positions, although Fassbender now makes it 7 as he gets clear of Victor Ard as well. So some big movers in the field. Now it's going to get really interesting because, look, DRS now available.
Yeah, lap 3 of the race. You have that in tool available. The rear wing flap will open up. It can give you upwards of 80 brake horsepower on a straight, just by the way that the air flows over. Awad really having to be careful there in the background as Kent Nielsen tries to figure out a way to get through at that brilliant Goodyear curve. But let's take a look at this from lap 2. This is what happened to Akomski here. So trying to find some room, gets out on the curb, turns in, and finds all of a sudden, there's a Sanfilippo there.
Yeah, no grip either. So cold tyres, that's definitely something that's going to play out throughout this season. Have a look at the advantage that Matteo Ugolotti's gained just from the DRS being open for 1 lap. He's closed that gap right down to Anthony Catt, and Ben Fuller's checked out at the front. He's gone.
He is a second a lap quicker at the moment, is Ben Fuller. This is scary, but here comes Ugolotti, who's been bottled up behind Anthony Catt. And, well, he is definitely the cat's pyjamas here as Matteo Ugolotti. He gets the move done, runs a little bit wide. Coming out, though, of turn number 1, entering this arena, and already a driver in the pits. It's Victor Awad, who's coming down in for the first stop of the brand new season. And I wonder how much of that is potentially damage or how much he doesn't want to be on that medium. He's gone onto the white-walled hard compound tyre.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that he's gone onto the hard. He's still stopped as well, so he's just coming out now. So I think he's damaged the front wing and had to come in and replace that with a 10-second pit stop. So, yeah, I think that wasn't strategic at all. I think that's just a forced change there. And away he goes. He's back out on track, but rejoining in 20th position. It's going to be a hard ask for him for the rest of the race. Great to see some names returning that we hadn't seen for a long time. I mean, we haven't broadcast the iRacing Grand Prix series for a little while, but great to see names that we saw from when we first started to cover it back again. The likes of Sanfilippo, Ugolotti, Ben Fuller, all out there on track in this series. It's going to be great battling throughout this championship season.
Oh, it really is, and you are certainly going to sense that the more that they go through. This is the middle of the train right now. Danilo Sanfilippo, 7th position. Corey Sharbo just behind is going to sweep up the inside and get that sorted at the chicane. And
Well, for
How
now.
aggressive do you want to be, Ken Nielsen? And suddenly, by going a little bit too deep, thank you very much, Marco Sanfilippo now gets through. And now the Sanfilippo brothers, representing their traditional black and pink Palermo colours, are now going to be trying to find a way past number 16, Corey Sharbo.
Yeah, Sharbo's starting to struggle a little bit. That last lap there, he was 2 and a bit seconds slower than Fastbender ahead. So definitely starting to check up the field a tiny little bit. But amazing that we're, 4.5 laps into this race, and we haven't really seen much in regards to incidents, which is fantastic. Every car's still running. I can't think of many races that we've done where 5 laps into a race, every car is still running in an official race.
Absolutely. Thomas Wieck there just saw in the background in the default Mercedes colours, making the pass on Jason Green for position. So Wieck now moves up into 13th, a gain of 7 so far in the race. There is your race leader, Ben Fuller, out in front, and a driver who does not need an introduction from Club Indiana. One of the fastest sim racers in the world, has over 9,000 iRating, and with good reason. In an open wheel machine, there are very few people who can match him. I always look back as well, as we see Ugolotti in second, to the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Championship a couple of years ago. And Ben Fuller, the only couple of drivers who could get anywhere near him were Peter Berryman and the likes of Martin van Loozenhoorn. So he is in elite company right now, as Anthony Cat in 4th position has lost another position, this time to Aurelien Baillif, who finds himself now, the Frenchman, up into 3rd.
I think this is just strategy here from Anthony Cat. Knows he doesn't have to push too hard. He can just cruise around and save the tyre. He always has been good at saving tyres, so he might be thinking, hey, I'll just go around, make sure that there's tyre left at the end of this stint, push a little bit harder then, stick with the guys ahead. If you can stick in DRS range, that's good enough, I feel, for Anthony Cat. But in saying that, what a good qualifying effort from him to qualify P2 with the strength of this field. That is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's a mega qualifying by Anthony Cat. You definitely can't say a bad word about him for that. There is Marcel Fastbender in 7th position, or 6th position now, because he is through on James Dempster. So he's made the pass through at turn 1, the prime place to get it done. And Dempster now is going to have to try and hold on to a driver who really qualified out of position here today. It's taken him a lot of work to get back up to speed, and it really does show, because it's 6 seconds now to chase down to Jordan Kronkowski. As we take a little look then at the pass here with your SimSpeed replay to see exactly how it's done, and you will see the DRS flap open on the rear wing. You get that extra burst of speed using the slipstream, and it's going to be as simple as I move over to the right-hand side, I get alongside, I get by the time we hit the brakes, and I make an overtake.
Yeah, almost ran it too deep though, didn't he? He almost threw it off the circuit, but I think he's probably thankful that there's that little bit of runoff at the exit of turn 1 that he could use to his advantage. I think Danilo Sanfilippo might be able to make a move here. DRS flap open, only 2.5 tenths behind Cruz Asbo at the apex of the final corner. Well, I don't think he might be there, is he? Oh, this is tough.
He is there, but he's not got drive, and that's the key. Corey Sharbo, expecting a lunge down the inside, broke late into the opening corner, giving himself some room, but now on the outside of 2 and then 3 of the arena. If you can get the inside for 4, you've got it. What drive Danilo Sanfilippo has, and he dispatches then of Corey Sharbo to leave brother Marco a chance to maybe find a pass, and he can't get that.
Not quite able to get there. He's right there to potentially pounce. I think he's going to have to wait for the DRS again. Saying that, I don't think we'll see too many overtakes into the chicane. The DRS zone on the run into the chicane is basically there to help set up a move potentially into turn 1. So then again, you never know. We've seen some aggressive driving from all of these drivers before. Will we see an overtake into the chicane? I don't think we're going to see too many. We might see some side by side, but I don't think we'll see too many overtakes.
I don't think we'll see too many. Wow, brilliant mid-cornering speed from Corey Sharbo. He had a lot more there than Marco Sanfilippo, and we get this sort of DRS train that seems to develop out there in these sorts of races where everyone has DRS on the car in front, so nobody can really make a pass. And we talk about the dirty airs, the turbulences. They're not as bad as Formula-style vehicles of seasons past, but these machines, you really do need to duck in and get as much drive as possible from them to try and get through one of the first pioneering cars with ground effect that they have to work with, a lineage that goes all the way back to Colin Chapman and the Lotus 79.
See, Komsky just getting through there on Jason Green back in 17th. This is 17th, 18th and 19th. Good to see John Pat Kelly back out on track again. One of our favourites in the series. He's continuing on in this series as well. But Ben Fuller's got that gap out the front now, out to just on 5 seconds. Still breaking away, just set the fastest lap of the race on the previous lap. He's absolutely flying out there right now.
But the difference maker is that the rate of a second a lap has stopped. Matteo Ugolotti is, for all intents and purposes, matching, if not hemorrhaging, a tenth or two here and there. And that's what's going to push Ben Fuller. Knew that Anthony Catt needed to build a gap while Catt had himself in position. But it's key now to see what can you do. And Anthony Catt is suddenly finding himself looking backwards in the mirrors again. This time it's Jordan Gronkowski. What can Gronk do? Car number 20 in this field, because this is an iRacing official service. He was the last driver in on the top cut, lowest I rating in the field, looking to the inside to move up to 4th place. Has he got enough on the brakes? Can he shuffle it off? He blocks the pass out there, and Anthony Catt had to get well out of it.
Good avoidance from Catt. Saw the car coming, and interesting that it's taken 8 laps for the soft tyre to get up to pressure, up to temperature, and actually finding some performance gains. So I wonder how early people will actually come in and change over to those softs if it's taking this long to get up to temperature and up to pressure to find some performance out of them. So the medium might be the go for as long as possible in this race. This is going to be interesting to see when it comes time for the pit stops in anywhere from 10 or 12 laps time. You'll see pit stops anywhere from then all the way right up to lap 50 odd.
Yeah, you can also say as well that the track temperature has just gone up by a couple of degrees too. So it means that it might be a little bit more in the window. 77 degrees Fahrenheit, so 5 Fahrenheit jump, I would say, is enough, Jay, to look at this circuit and go, it's slightly more in the wheelhouse now for the softs. The softs like a track which is hot and sticky.
The other thing with that, though, is it's very, very cloudy, so it can very quickly change back the other way. So while it's a bit of sunlight out on the circuit at the moment, that could change within a heartbeat. So I'm guessing that Gronkowski will take advantage of the better track conditions for him for now. Marco Sanfilippo hasn't been able to get this move done. He's just been stuck in this no man's land, but the 3 of these guys have broken away from the guys behind. Kent Nielsen now leading the secondary group, but this was all one train not that long ago, but it's now definitely fractured into 2.
Here we go. And now here comes the look from Marco Sanfilippo. Comfortably gets it done at turn 1 and moves up then to 9th position in this race. So the Italian making progress and finding an opportunity now here in this race to really go out there. This secondary group, Kent Nielsen is starting to walk away with Adam Webb, Thomas Veek, Timothy Vaughan all in there. You have to feel for Timothy Vaughan, Club New Zealand out there, or from New Zealand as he goes through. He's going to have to wake up at the crack of dawn like you had to, Jay, in order to participate in this race.
I feel like I haven't been to bed. I feel like you were not sleeping. So it was tough when the alarm went off at 4:30 this morning, but I did get up for it. But a little bit better if you're in New Zealand. You would have 8 a.m. start on a Saturday morning. That's not too bad. But 6 a.m., which will become 5 a.m. when our daylight savings ends. That's going to be tough midway through the season, but we'll have a new baby awake at that point anyway, so I won't be sleeping anyway.
Well, congratulations then for that, as and when it comes to. Still, though, Timothy Vaughan still trying to stay within range of Thomas Veek here. Lap 11 of 61 here from the Nurburgring and the European Grand Prix. Ben Fuller, your race leader at this point in time, as we take a look at our iRacing Grand Prix Tour Battle Pack as we go through the final corner, the Hyundai N-Curve, now heading onto the front stretch once again, looking to drive here towards the opening corner. It is getting a little bit close there between the two Sanfilippo brothers.
Did they just change position?
Marco, yeah, they have. So Marco's got ahead of Danilo then. and managed to do that on the front stretch. So it looks like Marco's got the turn of pace, and he's going to be the one to try and jump off. Danilo is going to have to play second fiddle.
I thought I saw a change of position, but I just saw Sanfilippo. I wasn't 100% sure. That's way too easy. So the DRS is definitely playing an advantage, but is there a little bit of gamesmanship going on there? Like Marco, hey, I'm faster, let me through. Danilo going, yeah, all right. But yeah, I'm a little surprised by that. These two very, very evenly matched in pace, but Marco definitely has better performance at the moment. Even looking at the driver's fastest laps of the race, Marco 0.8 of a second faster last lap and 0.4 faster on the overall fastest lap. So Marco definitely is faster. Oh, there's been an incident up ahead though.
Oh, is that Baif? It is. It's Aurelien Baif. The Frenchman has gone around from third position in this race, and that's all on his own under braking. And when you find yourself on your own, it's very easy to find those mistakes. And Baif has dropped 3 places then in the blink of an eye. This is how it happens. Up the hill braking zone means you can brake slightly later, and he gets very close, may have just clipped the grass, and that would have been enough just to send him around under the brakes.
Heartbreaking for him from third position to drop all the way back now in 6th. And he'll be struggling for grip for a couple of laps as well. So this is going to be tough for the next few minutes. Waif's going to have to work really hard to make sure that he doesn't have any more time loss. James Dempster around about 2.5 seconds back. He'll be trying to close in. He'll see, he'll smell blood in the water and try and close that down as quick as he can.
Would have also hyperheated up those tyres, which wouldn't have been very helpful at all. So there's still that element of work that needs to go. Dempster in 7th position, +1 for the day, having a very, very solid drive of things coming out of the Goodyear curve and up to the Michael Schumacher S, this legendary left-right section where all the downforce is needed. 270 kilometers an hour at the exit of that section, into the left then, over at turn 11, and then through this next right-hander, the Bilstein curve, which leads up through the Advan Arch and towards this beautiful Vidal chicane, which we have seen time and time again has been the classic shot of this Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit course, the shot back down the hill, as that's Corey Sharbo now getting back through on Danilo Sanfilippo. And I've been looking at Danilo Sanfilippo. Just watch the rain light on the back. We won't see it from this view, but I think he's harvesting a lot of energy right now for his energy recovery system.
Potentially, yeah. So his lap times don't look great. So I'm wondering if he's used too much fuel early on as well and is deciding, hey, I better save some fuel now. Easier to save fuel at the start of the race than it is at the end. That could be potentially what's going on as well. But yeah, I've noticed that too, watching out of the corner of my eye, that there is a lot of harvesting going on. The light's flashing quite a lot. So we'll find out as the race goes on. But yeah, I think that not all smooth sailing at the moment for Danilo Sanfilippo. He's dropped 2 positions in the same number of laps.
Yeah, so he's now started to look a little bit backwards, and he's going to have to be concerned about that. Now, we talk about how quick pit stops are. They are going to be pretty rapid around here today. So let's take another look, though, at this. This is Thomas Wieck then going into the chicane. Gets through the first part okay, but he has to skip along, take the slowdown penalty, part of the iRacing system there, and drop the time. So there goes the place. Through then on Thomas Wieck will go Timothy Vaughan, getting that pass done, and brilliantly done. The move made, and a small mistake there from Thomas Wieck. That's one you can just about get away with.
He's only lost 1 spot. He's still in the draft of the car ahead. You still have DRS. Well, maybe he might have lost DRS, but he'll be able to get that spot back, you would think. But yeah, that group still very close together that he was with, so can't see that hurting him too much in the long run. So Marcel Fassbender's dropped off a cliff a little bit as well. So remember, he was making huge grounds, but that's all stopped now. And now finding himself in his first real battle since the green flag dropped.
Aurelien Bailly, 32 flat that last time by. Marcel Fassbender, 32 flat that last time by. 2 very evenly paced drivers at this stage of the race. Marcel Fassbender, having started 16th in the space of 14 laps, has found his way up to 5th place in this race and is trying to get more out of it at this stage. You've got there Aurelian Baif trying to get back into this race after the spin and just trying to find some confidence back in his driving. And that's sometimes what gets hurt first, is you have a spin as a race driver, Jay. You've got to try and take that out of your mind. You've got to try and just forget what's happened in the past and just race to the level that you're comfortable at into the future of the race.
The other side of that is it's difficult to forget what you've already done because you don't want to make the same mistake again. So you've got to really find that balance of forgetting what's happened in the past, but remembering at the same time what you did wrong so you don't do it again. So very, very fine balance. Interesting side note as well. Gronkowski now starting to set purple laps. He set it the fastest lap of the race the previous 2 laps, 131.1. Of course, the only driver on soft compound tyres. Compare that to Ben Fuller. It's around about 0.6 of a second faster. So he's starting to make inroads. Here comes.
Here we go.
Moved
and
on.
That's the pass sorted there. So Aurelian Baif taking a little time to dispatch of Marcel Fassbender, was waiting, and then just absolutely sent it and found the pass. So Baif back up into 5th place. And this track is continuing to get hotter. We are in the middle of the day, and now here comes a look a little bit further back. This is Lukasz Okomski trying to make the pass, and he gets past Yestin Schiapolone then for place. So that's up to 15th. Then Yestin then is going to have to just sit back and watch. The middle of the pack, 40 seconds already adrift of the race lead, which means they're already almost 2 pit stops behind in the space of a quarter of a race.
Crazy to think how much time they've split, but in the same breath, they haven't really been too much slower. I mean, that last lap there, Komsky was only 0.4 of a second behind the leader in regards to lap pace, but they're so far behind at this point. But at the same time, they're not that far behind because of the pace that these cars have got. They could close that down by the end of a race. So it's an interesting dynamic that's out there at the moment. Everyone's still on the lead lap at the moment, though, too, which is always cool. One thing I've just noticed, have a look at this gap, though. Remember last time we looked, it was right on 5 seconds? Now 4.
Right on 4. And last lap would have gone a long way to make that happen. A 131.4 from Matteo Ugolotti, and it was a 131.8 by Ben Fuller. So Ugolotti certainly has done a good amount of work, as now Juan Sanfilippo down the inside of James Dempster. Marco makes the move and gets himself then another position. That will jump him up to 7th place now with that overtake. And James Dempster is all of a sudden seeing himself having to work pretty hard at this stage of the race. We are nearing that sort of range. I would say anywhere from lap 20 onwards, you might have a chance in these conditions to go and make something happen, especially when you consider how good the soft tyre has been. It's taken a little while to get in, but this is the sort of conditions that are there, and this is what you start to expect over the course of a race like this, where you say, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to get out of this Mercedes AMG?
Yeah, the weather conditions are pretty much optimal now for the soft tyre, so if you are good enough to make the soft tyre last 30, 35 laps, then you're going to come in as soon as you can and get on it. But the downside is will the track get any hotter? Will the track get as hot as 35, 40 degrees Celsius by the end of the race? There is a potential for that if the cloud cover doesn't come in. So the other side to that is if you get on it too early, you might not have enough left when it does get above optimal levels. So fine line out there. Matteo Ugolotti's just set his fastest lap of the race too, so he's cut it down to 3.5 seconds. That gap, we're almost 1/3 of the way through the race too.
Yeah, we almost are. And just behind there, Corey Sharbo looking in the mirrors. Danilo Sanfilippo can't really do much about it at the moment, but everywhere you look here, mid-pack, it's getting interesting. And now you've got the 2 teammates working together here. You've got Kent Nielsen and you've got Adam Webb. Both of those drivers there trying to figure out, well, okay, we're 11th and 12th. We've both got strategies in this race. Who's got what working for them? And Kent Nielsen, I would have thought, would have been a driver who would have been knocking on the door of a top 5, maybe at the start of things going through on paper. But here today, looks like he's struggling here at the opening round here at this European Grand Prix.
Been good performance though. I mean, sure they're down a little bit, but I mean, Adam Webb's up, 7 positions? He didn't set a lap in qualifying, started 19th and already up a fair few, so he'll be looking to gain spots. But they also look like they're not pushing at 100%. They're looking at conserving a little bit of tyre and probably saving a dash of fuel as well. So saving a dash of fuel for the latter parts of the race when they're on the soft tyre and can push that extra hard. So I think that's something we haven't considered too much as well, is how much fuel the guys saving so that they've got fuel to burn when it comes time for the softs.
Yeah, that certainly is going to be key. You can see right up close and a lot of harvesting there from one Mr. Kent Nielsen, but no reasons to go and make the moves then on lap 17 of their race, lap 18 at the moment, and the gap comes down at the race lead to under 3 seconds then for the first time since about lap 2 of this race. Matteo Ugolotti takes another half a second out of Ben Fuller and is reeling him in hand over fist at this moment in time. Now, Jay, in terms of what makes this car so quick, what sort of specifications are we looking at to see this Mercedes AMG W13 absolutely rampage up through around these Eiffel Mountains?
Well, just on 1100 horsepower, that's one thing. Only 700 kilo, just on 700 kilos as well. So extremely lightweight, extremely high powered, 8-speed sequential semi-automatic gearbox, which helps glide through the gears as well. You can see the flashing lights on the back there. So a little bit of harvesting from Matteo Ugolotti. That helps drivers behind understand that not going 100% power at the moment. So yeah, extremely high performance cars, these ones. They are the pinnacle of world motorsport for a reason. You've got to be the best drivers in the world to be able to drive them, and you've got to be the best drivers in the world to be able to get performance out of them as well, and we're seeing that in this race right now. Highest I rating drivers, P1, P2, with numbers 1 and 2 beside their names.
Yeah, and then the driver in third position just happens to have number 20, the lowest I rating out
He's doing
there.
well
just
too.
Yeah, doing really well as Jordan Gronkowski at this point in time. Still only 8 seconds off of the race lead. But as these two chase and descend down the hill, you really do get a sense of, well, how much are you going to push? And these drivers can't push too much around here, as into the opening corner, I think Adam Webb has decided, you know what, I've got the hurry up message. I'm going to get through on my Canadian teammate, Kent Nielsen, and then make the pass through and gain the extra place, because they'll look behind, they'll see Timothy Vaughan and Thomas Veek and go, we don't want them much closer through. But they are going to have to be careful about the track limits here today, Jay, because it's 17 instant points, and then it is a drive-through penalty, and then it's every 8 instant points afterwards. There's no disqualification, but a lot of drive-through penalties could come through today.
Yeah, I think probably this race, probably not so much of an issue, but we get to other circuits in the season where we'll find that the incident points, the off-track penalty system is really aggressive. So I don't think it'll be too much of a concern for drivers in this race, because you don't want to go off the track too much here anyway. But other circuits where you can go off the track and use it to your advantage, we might see a few drive-through penalties potentially come into play. I just wanted to jump on board here because you can see the green light here on Timothy Vaughan. That means he is now back in DRS range. They'd broken away, lost the DRS, had Timothy Vaughan, but he's now got it again, and look how quickly he's closed in. This is back to a 4-car fight.
It very much is, and you start sensing with Timothy Vaughan that he wants to get a move on right before this pit stop window. Now, this is going to be the shorter circuit where track position will matter coming into the pits, because it is a very congested braking zone into the pits. You take the Hyundai N-curve a little bit tighter than you would do the natural racing line, and you don't want to be stuck behind someone else, not going as quick through that corner, which you can't maximise. Speaking of maximising, here comes John Pat Kelly making the pass through on Paul O'Regan, and that is the move sorted for 17th position. John Pat Kelly slowly making progress after that pit start.
He's doing very well, up to 17th after starting from the pit, so he'll be quite happy with that. Of course, he did qualify in 10th position from memory, so he could have started a bit higher but did miss the start. But to make progress from starting in the pit lane is always a good starting point, so he's doing quite nicely. Victor Ard on those hard tyres as well, just checking on him. His lap times around about 2 seconds off what we're seeing from Ben Fuller, which is no real surprise, but he's going to have the tyre to last all the way to the end. He's already done his final stop. I think he'll be content if he can stay on the lead lap. I think that's his aim for the rest of the race from this point.
It's going to be a difficult one when you're 2 seconds a lap slower. You're already a minute 15 behind, and in the next 7 laps, you are due. Speaking of being due, Baif and Fassbender. Baif has been unable to break away from the German, and as such, Marcel Fassbender is certainly just stalking his prey at this moment, up 10 spots in this race and wanting to make it a few more out there. Aurelien Baif, I think, is just praying for that pit stop window, is praying for an opportunity to dive down into the pit and make his race a reality in the second half of this one. Through this beautiful left-hander, descending down the hill through the right. What a difficult braking zone it is through the right of turn number 6, Jay. How tough is it to actually get it hooked up? When you feel you get that corner hooked up, you feel on top of the world.
I wouldn't have a clue. I've never done it properly before. Every time I used to race, I could never get that corner right. Those 2 corners always felt like I could have done something more. It's a real difficult section to get right. You feel like there's never an optimal line that you can get. You feel like you could always do something slightly better. But if you do get it right, I'm sure these guys will be absolutely grinning from ear to ear, because that run all the way down the hill to the hairpin is incredible. Fassbender, interesting, just noticed there. As soon as he got in the DRS range and was starting to close up, straight out of the throttle to try and harvest a bit of energy. So I think he's trying to save it a little bit, conserve a little bit, so that he's full power and then can push for a lap to try and get this move done and maybe break away. But he's finding it a lot more difficult to get back through than I was expecting.
We'll go now, because straight down the inside, Marcel Fassbender says thank you very much. Trying to get drive off the exit is Aurelien Baif, but Baif doesn't have anything to argue back with. So Fassbender makes the pass. I wonder if he was just trying to leave himself enough room there, Jay, to open up this opportunity on the front stretch.
Oh, I think he might have tried to save as much power as he could, make sure the battery was full, bang, away he goes, but he can't quite break away. I think both guys were doing the exact same thing, conserving energy, so that if the move potentially happened, they both had some battery power to boost them along. The gap hasn't broken to a second.
Mistake.
Oh, yeah, big mistake.
Off goes Fassbender, and now they'll be side by side up to the Schumacher S. Who's going to be brave? Not Baif. Fassbender keeps the throttle in and holds on.
Wow. This lap has not gone to plan for either of these guys, really. I mean, they've both lost a huge amount of time from everyone around, and have a look at who's closing in the background. Marco Sanfilippo is closing in on these guys. He's gained about 1.5 seconds on them on this lap alone. He's closing in quick.
He is, and that's going to be a bit concerning for those drivers around and in with Marco Sanfilippo, because they know how quick he is. They know what he's capable of doing, and these drivers in front don't want to be finding mistakes, don't want to be gifting opportunities or incentives over to the Italian there just behind in 7th. Also had to try and make some progress from the 8th row of the grid today to try and charge through. And one of the cool things about iRacing is it's not just these 20 drivers who are racing in this series. There are also the 3 other splits that are going on right now.
Yeah, so 80 drivers in total have decided to race at this time slot, so there's always an opportunity to race. Regardless of your skill level, you've always got a chance to race someone. There's always someone similar skill level to you, so you've always got someone to battle. In pretty much every single series within iRacing, you've got someone to fight with, which is great. One of the things that we all love about the iRacing service is that it really is for everyone. Even if you're like you and I, Sparian, drive with a controller.
Absolutely. Matteo Ugolotti now, gap 2.1 seconds, hitting the brakes into the Vidal chicane on lap 23. A huge kick of oversteer coming off of the exit, then having to fight the car back to a pointed and straight line to try and get drive off the exit. That's cost a 10th and a bit. But Matteo Ugolotti right now is driving at a beautiful cadence compared to Ben Fuller, who I think is managing the race a little bit more, but is unable to really have that same sort of pace than he did at the start of this race. I think he's been very beneficial, has Ben Fuller, off the start, to have had Anthony Catt in second, who is a very good defensive driver as the number 10. But at least right now, Matteo Ugolotti is proving that he's got pace and he wants to chase down number 1 at the front of this field.
One thing to note, though, have a look at the sky condition. Oh, huge moment there for Ugolotti. I was about to say clouds have come over the circuit, so it has cooled the track back down now to 23 Celsius. So it's dropped about another 3 degrees in the last 5 or 6 minutes. So tyres, if you've already got them up to very, very good optimum temperature, they're going to be okay. But if you hadn't quite been able to get them into good performance levels, you may be struggling a little bit. Just noticed out the corner of my eye, I'll bring it up on screen in a replay in just a sec, but James Dempster has lost a whole heap of ground. But have a look why, Sperry.
Oh, it's 3 places, and it's a very big 3 places, and this will be, sorry, not places, but on the chicane. But look at this, on the drive, on the exit, right up through the gears. Now, we don't often get to talk about this, but it's never quite truly straight coming out then of the Vidal chicane. There is that small little turn as Timothy Vaughan now has found the pass and has moved up a place, has got straight through on Kent Nielsen. Here comes Thomas Veek with an opportunity to make the pass. He's not quite in line, but the Vidal chicane isn't necessarily straight on the exit. It slightly curves around. When you've got so much torque and so much power and traction that goes into those rear tyres, it's so easy to spin them up, Jay.
100% it is. And the other part to that too is it's also fairly heavily cambered as well. So it does sort of present itself to...
in he comes.
Yeah, to make that sort of thing that you see. Big mistake there from Nielsen, just runs wide. And as you said, he has come into the pits now live as well. So, yeah, I think he's decided, tyres are done. Time to come in. 36 laps. Is he going to be able to do it? Well, I mean, Gronkowski's still doing personal best laps. 25 laps into this soft tyre run, so I'm going to say 36 should be okay.
Should be. Soft tyres go on for Kent Nielsen as we focus on the battle for 5th and 6th positions. Baif and Fastbender at this point, trying to get themselves out and away here in this one, flicking through the Dunlop hairpin and the Goodyear hairpin and back up the hill through the left and the right to the Schumacher S and trying to get as much drive as possible. This is an important phase of the race for both of them because they know as they look behind that Marco Sanfilippo is 0.4 of a second quicker than them on that last lap, brings the gap to 1.6 right now to the back of Fastbender.
Yeah, Fastbender did get a bit of time back there with that huge mistake there for Sanfilippo, but now that we've seen one driver pit, will we start to see the pit lane open for a lot more drivers? Kent Nielsen, 4.8 second pit stop, which is around the normal that we see between 4 and 5 seconds, so he'll be happy that he's had a fairly standard pit stop. No move into turn 1, but Sanfilippo, all of that ground that he gained, he just lost it all in one corner. He lost around about a second. He would have been almost in DRS range if he hadn't have made that error out of turn 11.
One small mistake is all that it takes in a series like this to drop the time, and that's the last thing that these drivers will be thinking about here is, do we drop time? Do we have issues? Speaking of, Lukasz Okomski has found the back of Thomas Veek and has just been quietly whittling away gap on gap after his early lap issues out there. It's taken a lot of hard work to get back to 14th position. I don't think a top 10 is out of the realms of possibility here today for the Polish driver, but Okomski now needing to find an overtake, isn't going to get there through this section as they now enter what is essentially the Mullenbach-Schleif section of the circuit, the lowest point on the track out of anything, both Grand Prix and Nordschleife.
Actually done some races on that version of the circuit, the very extreme short version. There's a really bizarre cut through that goes through here that you can try and get yourself through. It doesn't feel like it should be a corner, but it is. I think we're going to see a move here into the chicane. It just feels like there's a move about to happen, doesn't it? You feel like there's something brewing in this battle.
Here it is. Oh, they get really close. Thomas Veek tries to outbrake through this section, but doesn't have any turning. And as such, Lukasz Okomski will find the pass and move up another position. It is struggle street now for Thomas Veek. But I want to pay attention once more to the front of the field. The gap now is 1.3 seconds. We'll take another look, though, at this replay before we do. This is going to be Dempster then struggling, as that is Corey Sharbo absolutely blitzing through, or was trying to blitz through, were it not for the fact that Dempster was fantastic in defence.
He did a great job of holding that position off, didn't he? He's should have lost the spot by rights, but did a good job of holding on and still holding that position for now. But this is the battle you were just talking about, Sperry. Down to 1.3 seconds. Matteo Ugolotti has got those tyres absolutely hooked up right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Fuller comes into the pits.
In.
Both in.
No, just the one. Just the one. So Ugolotti in. Ben Fuller stays out. And Ugolotti's trying to undercut here and make this strategy work. It will pay off for 1 or 2 laps if he can find enough pace in the soft tyre when he gets it up to temperature. But the one thing he'll be looking at is he'll have slightly worse tyres later on in the race. John Gronkowski will also follow in here on lap 28, trying to dispatch of his soft tyres out there. And also Baif, who's almost actually hit the pit wall coming in, and Marcel Fassbender. They're both in then, looking to make their stops. Ugolotti already away with clean air.
4-second stop for Ugolotti, 4.3 for Gronkowski, so pretty good stops for both of those guys. As you said, Baif and Fassbender in. I actually thought that was a little bit reactionary by Ugolotti, so he's obviously thought, hey, if Ben Fuller doesn't come, I'm coming in. And was a very last-second decision, judging by the way that he moved the car across, wasn't it? Didn't look like he had planned that at 100% he was going to pit, and 100% reactionary.
Well, the question now is, does Ben Fuller follow suit at this moment in time? Knows how important it's going to be for him to retain track position, retain the lead of this race. He's led every one of the 28 laps so far here in this European Grand Prix, the opening race of this 23-race calendar for the Formula A iRacing Grand Prix Tour, but he will stay out. He is running to a number. He is not going to react to drivers around. He is going to extend that stint as long as he feels he needs to in order to have the tyre life in the second half of the stint to do the reverse of what Ugolotti did to him.
I've seen something happen off camera that is the issue that you may have coming out on fresh tyres. This is Marcel Fassbender's just come out of the pits. Fresh tyres.
Running through turn 2 into turn 3 of the Mercedes arena. Now, are the tyres up to temperature, and does he have enough grip through turn 4? Odds that is no. He gets right up over that curb and it just spits him broadside on the middle of the track. That would have given Aurelien Baif and co a little bit of something to look at and go, uh-oh, not quite what I was hoping for. But that is just how quickly the race can turn around as Anthony Cat comes out of the pits, and he's going to be right in the thick of things with Danilo Sanfilippo, Corey Sharbo and James Dempster.
Yes, I think these cooler track conditions, cooler weather conditions are really hampering a few drivers getting these softs up to temperature. So that may play into the benefit of Ben Fuller right now. You might be able to get a couple of seconds back on Matteo Ugolotti while Matteo's getting his tyres up to temp. Downfall to that is that when it reverses, Ben Fuller could be vulnerable to an overtake once Ugolotti's tyres are up to temperature. Thomas Veek's also done the same thing at the final corner. Fresh tyres, first flying lap. He's had a spin at the final corner.
As quickly as that, Thomas Veek finding himself pointing the wrong way, and the Hyundai N-curve is really a tough place to get it correct because you're always trying to put the power down as early as you can, and you can always find yourself in a bit of trouble if you can't quite get the angle that's needed. There is James Dempster then, as he's still trying to hold off Corey Sharbo in this race. This is 6th and 7th at this moment in time, knowing that Anthony Cat with fresher tyres is going to want to try and get through PD and Q.
Fastest lap of the race, Matteo Ugolotti, the first driver to do a 1 minute 30 lap time, 1 minute 30.3. Compare that to Ben Fuller, 131.4 on his previous lap. Sorry, 131.4, yeah, on his previous lap, and also his fastest lap. I did read that right. It might be 7 in the morning, but I can still read.
You still can, and as James Dempster comes in, Ugolotti a second a lap quicker should be, in terms of this race, inheriting the race lead when Ben Fuller dives into the pits. But Fuller will have better tyres, and we know how great Ben Fuller was in the opening 5 laps of his stint. As we take a look picture in picture to see where Ben Fuller is right now on the bottom of your screen. He's just coming out then of the Bilstein Bend up through the Advan Arch, just coming up to the Schumacher S now is Ugolotti in the number 2 car, the Italian, and now you start sensing here, lap 30, halfway stage. What do you want to do? Fuller again is going to stay out, and I wonder if he's going to go to maybe 32, 33, get a 28-lap stint on those tyres, those soft tyres, the same way that someone like maybe Jordan Gronkowski did in the opening stint.
Well, the one thing to note is that Ben Fuller's just set his personal fastest lap of the race. So, despite him losing ground to Ugolotti, he's still setting his personal fastest. So, definitely good pace still in those tyres for Ben Fuller, but just not as good as Matteo Ugolotti, who sets another 1 minute 30, 1 minute 30.1, new fastest lap.
Another new fastest lap. How quickly it continues to change about at this stage. Anthony Katz got himself lined up as there is second position. You've also got a Komski, I believe that is now, eyeing up Baif, going through. So Baif making the pass in on the fresh tyres, going through and making the place happen. As that's happened, Anthony Katz has just moved back up inside the top 5. He's got past the old tyres, the old mediums of Corey Sharbo.
Yep, got that done into turn 1. Nice move there from him. This is the move for Komski losing that spot.
Let him have it.
Yeah, I think he just decided, hey, you've got fresh tyres. There's no point in me fighting this. You're going to get me eventually anyway. I'll follow through and use the DRS for a bit of help.
Simple as that. So for the likes then of Aurelien Baif, he's got work to do in order to catch Anthony Katz, and into the pits then is Paul O'Regan making his pit stop. So he will get himself out and away. 4 seconds stationary in the lane, enough time to get the tyres all sorted on and off before going again. Not necessarily the 2.1, 2.2 second pit stops we're seeing. Marcel Fassbender with one of the fastest stops tonight. He's done a 3.9 second pit stop, so got himself perfectly lined up in the box for that, as he will now look to chase down Lukas Szykomski 6 seconds down the road.
As far as I can see, that is the fastest pit stop we've seen so far. So Fassbender got some advantage in the pit stop and then threw it away with that mistake at turn 4. So he'll be heartbroken when he sees that back later on and go, what did I do wrong? Just ran a tiny little bit wide. Wasn't much in it, unfortunately, but just enough. Gap when Matteo Ugolotti came out of the pits was around about 21, 22 seconds. It's now below 19, so he's flying. Ben Fuller may rue the potential error of not pitting.
May do at this moment, but I wonder if he can keep a good enough pace. If he stays in range, he's got a chance. Now, speaking of chances, this is Timothy Vaughan, who has now lost out to Aurelien Baif. So Baif now is just picking off I wouldn't say traffic right now, but those he's not necessarily racing for against at the end of the race. He's doing it one at a time, and it's very, very simple right now for Baif. It's something that's very motivating for a driver in the middle of the field. Just one at a time, at a time, at a time. Ben Fuller still deciding to stay out, and I think maybe is looking at maybe lap 35 maybe could be an option. He's really trying to extend out that medium tyre.
Just crossed the line with a 1 minute 31.3. Only about a tenth off his previous fastest lap of the race. And Matteo Ugolotti 2.1 seconds faster. Sorry, 1.1 second faster. 2.1 would be amazing, but 1.1 second faster. Gets a gap down to 18 seconds flat. So he's flying at the moment, is Matteo Ugolotti. Tell you who else is flying. This car here, number 6 of really... I'm going to say his name wrong all day, so I'm going to let you say it, Sperry. But Adam Webb's about to get past.
Well, I tell you what, Jay, you were saying it absolutely beautifully up until that point when you got scared. So Baif will now look to try and get through, and will do on Adam Webb, who has no complaints about that overtake. You go on your merry way, Aurelien. There's not much I can do. In comes Lukas Szykomski then to make his pit stop. You can't miss him. He's in bright neon green as he now hits his box as your race leader deals a little bit of traffic for the first time. Jason Green, he puts a lap down.
He has got past O'Regan and Victor Ard, who have both been lapped already, but Jason Green got caught at a very awkward spot, and I think Fuller's decided that's enough in these tyres. So you're close with your 35. He's going to do 33 on this tyre set.
He is, so he'll get 27 laps in on his set of soft tyres, we presume, at this stage. It will go down to the final pit box in the garages at this stage, going 80 kilometers an hour through this section. Already going by is Matteo Ugolotti onto the front stretch. So up on the jacks, down off the jacks will go Ben Fuller, but he'll lose a lot of time in comparison to Matteo Ugolotti, who now moves into the race lead for the first time here on lap 34 of 61.
Good start for Ben Fuller. So just that.
He's got off. Ugolotti just went off.
Wow. Okay. You've thrown me there.
All of a sudden, you give the race lead over, and Ugolotti immediately makes a mistake. Not a big mistake, has to be said. Not a big mistake, but a mistake. And that is key, as Marco Sanfilippo has just come out of the pits, and he's right in the thick of things too. So here's the mistake through turn 2, grabs the curb and just has a little wiggle, just like that. And it's enough to just use what is in this Herman Tilke designed AMG arena, a lot of runoff area.
Have a look at the gap though, first to second. We said that the new tyres were a little bit of a struggle to get up to temp. 4.5 seconds, that's huge for Ben Fuller to try and gain back. He had that advantage early on in the race and lost it. And now Matteo Ugolotti's 4.5 seconds ahead. So that's a 9-second swing from around about lap 10.
From around lap 10, that is a lot. And while you start thinking of Ben Fuller, oh my goodness, Marco Sanfilippo's in the wall. Marco Sanfilippo has hit the wall coming out then of the Goodyear hairpin. And just like that, on the fresh tyres, he was struggling, and I wonder if he's got away with it. There isn't the black and orange mechanical flag to say he's got damage. He's only had a glancing blow of the tyres.
He's lucky to get away with this, because this could have been a lot worse. So running a little wide, a little deep. Puts the power down. Oh, is that Adam Webb that almost made contact with him there as well?
Yeah.
That's very, very close and hard-in-mouth stuff. Everyone lucky to get away with that.
Absolutely, and sorry, it wasn't Adam Webb, it was Timothy Vaughan who there was the one who got away with that one.
He's come in for some new pants.
That could have been, yeah, I would as well if you saw that happen in front of you. That could have been the end of the race. So it'll be a quick out and in then for Timothy Vaughan. He'll be back off and away again once he has made his stop and has gone onto the soft compound tyre as he goes through. And,
this is huge. This is huge. Ben Fuller has made an error.
It's not often you hear that. Fuller, final corner, trying to get dry, pushing to try and chase down the gap, and he slides it around and loses a bucket of time. A bucket is worth 5 seconds, apparently, in this race. He's now 10 seconds back, and he'll be looking in his mirrors at Jordan Gronkowski on the medium compound tyres, which we know has been a little bit more of a stable tyre over the course of this race.
For the first time in a long time, Gronkowski can see a car in front of him that's not driving away from him. So we'll be quite excited to see a potential running the alternate strategy. The only other driver that's on mediums at the moment is Adam Webb. He is yet to pit in this race. Wouldn't be too surprised to see Webb. Yeah, Webb actually does lose a place to Marcel Fassbender. So Webb doing the extreme overcut. He can't go much longer on these tyres, can he?
Well, 35 laps he's gone so far, and that is Corey Sharbo around then over at the Bilstein bend. That would have been troubles at the corner before, looping the car around, and the American now drops a long way down the order. A shame for Sharbo, who looked really, really punchy in the early stages of the race. How quickly this race can fall away, and it is going to be a case of going through this section of track, just being too aggressive on the inside curb, and the car are wickedly snapping around on him.
Everyone is struggling on that first lap on cold, soft tyres, aren't they? They're just not quite able to get the temp in the tyre like they had on those mediums. And I'm going to say 60, 70% of the field has had issues on their first flying lap on these soft compound tyres.
Well, cold conditions, soft tyre can often be trouble as we look at Yeston Chiapolone. You can see the track temperature still at 74 degrees Fahrenheit at this moment in time. Not really much wind to speak of. There's not going to be much difference here in this race. But as we head towards the final third of this race, it is a race where Matteo Ugolotti has the race lead, making the fewest mistakes in this race. Ben Fuller, we saw spin up the tyres in second. It's Jordan Gronkowski who is in third at this moment. We focus on Yestin Chiapalone, who is currently in 16th position in this race, and he's got his eyes on John Pat Kelly, who's moved through up into 15th.
John Pat Kelly doing a great job moving forward in the field. Up 5 spots from his technical starting position, but down 5 spots from where he qualified. But I think he'd prefer the first of those options than the second. Up 5 spots sounds much better than down 5 spots, so he'll be content with that. Car 15 in position 15, usually a pretty good marker of where he should be sitting as well. So doing a nice job at this stage. This is the closest fight out on track at the moment as well. So we're sort of in that position that we used to see in the iRacing Grand Prix series as well, where just after pit stops or, just after the midway point, everything had settled. We get a chance to take our breath before the race would absolutely break loose at the end. I'm sure you've got the same feeling in your mind as me that this race is going to absolutely break loose in the next 10 laps or so and leave us with a grandstand finish with some great battles at the end.
Give us a couple weeks, we'll have a brace of races for you. But at least for the moment here, this middle group, they're really trying to work hard here, and they're not a million miles away from the likes of P13 out there. It takes one small mistake to end the race. There are no retirees so far in this one, despite the couple of spins that we've seen. As we take a little look then from an onboard perspective then from Yestin Chiapalone. And this is what I think is really telling about this Nurburgring circuit here, Jay. Just how much of this track has elevation changed. It is back, it's racing to the bottom of the hill and back up again. It feels like that sort of track.
Yeah, it's an amazing circuit, isn't it, this one? And to think that... well, that's interesting. Notice that they're from Chiapalone, and sorry to sidetrack there, just held it in sixth gear to try and save the battery. Better job of harvesting when you max on the limiter than going up into 7th and rolling out of the throttle. So there's a lot of battery harvesting going on at the moment in this group. So you saw the lights on from John Pat Kelly as well. So fuel isn't something we talked about too much in the iRacing Grand Prix series, but in the Tour, of course, fuel is going to be essential to talk about come the end of the season or throughout the season, because there's no refueling in these cars. What you start with is what you've got. And on races where you've got a lot of open throttle, you really have to be careful with how much fuel you burn.
You really do, and I think it's going to be super duper telling when you try and put as much as you can in, and you've got to try and stay within the realms, within the markers over the course of the race. So at least for Yestin Chiapalone, he's doing well. Adam Webb, by the way, 38 laps, still hasn't come down in as we focus on Ben Fuller in second position. He's got the gap down under 10 seconds, did a 29.8 fast lap of the race, took 0.4 of a second out. He needs to be chasing down that gap at a rate of about half a second a lap. So he is close on the margin he needs to get back to Ugolotti by the end of the race.
Yeah, he actually said a couple of laps ago, as Adam Webb finally comes into the pits, actually set a 29.6 a couple of laps ago. So fastest lap of the race is, though, still with Matteo Ugolotti, 29.5. So both of these guys have got extreme pace. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out at the end. We need to keep one eye on Adam Webb and see if he has these same troubles that we've seen from everyone else. But a good pit stop from him. He is away. Is that Kent Nielsen through up the inside?
That's Timothy Vaughan through up the inside. So that's Vaughan making the place. But that could have actually been there, Jay. And sorry, I didn't quite catch it. Yeah, you're absolutely... no, it wasn't a move. It was a defence, actually, against Lukasz Akomski. Now, remember Akomski earlier on in the race? I said, he might be on for a top 10 yet. Well, this is the battle for 10th place.
Yeah, I thought this was actually an overtake, but yeah, you're right. It was a defence there. And Komsky, had a big wiggle, though, at the exit, though, did he? He almost looped it back around. But, this is going to be some good racing in this pack here, because you've got Danilo Sanfilippo. He'll be unhappy with his position. The Sanfilippos both set a very high standard, but to see 7th and 11th next to their positional column at the moment, they won't be too happy with that. They'll both be thinking they deserve top 5s or have the ability for top 5s. So they'll be hoping to move forward. But Kent Nielsen, Akomski, Sanfilippo and then Vaughan in this group. I think we're going to see all 4 of them together for the next 15 or so laps.
7th and 11th, you wouldn't scream convenience at this moment in terms of what they're trying to do in this race. So that could be something just worth keeping an eye. And that gap suddenly has gone to 8.4 seconds. And Ben Fuller is absolutely motoring now on track. He has got the bit between his teeth and he reaches a zone where not many other drivers can find. And this is him now trying to burn up the tyre with these 21 laps to go. It's the sort of thing where Michael Schumacher would have Ross Brawn in the radio and say, oh, you've got 21 laps to chase down 8.2 seconds. That's going to mean you need 21 qualifying laps.
He'll know that too. He'll know exactly what he needs to do. He's got it down under 8 seconds now, so that lap there crosses the line. Oh, wow, what a lap. Fastest lap of the race at 29.1. Incredible pace that he's got at the moment. So don't be surprised if this gap's down to nothing within the next 10 laps.
1.4 seconds quicker that last lap. Tells you everything you need to know about how quick Ben Fuller is driving in this race. It might be worth also keeping a small eye on Anthony Cat and Jordan Gronkowski. That gap now down to 6 seconds too. But 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. This is where it's starting to get a little bit congested as Kent Nielsen right now as Lukas Szykomski has got Danilo Sanfilippo as well, or we did have there just for the briefest moments. No, Lukas Szykomski, he is having himself a couple of troubles out there, and it's the sort of troubles that no driver in front or behind likes to see a driver have.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking when you see a driver in front of you have a couple of technical issues. We just see him disappear again. So he'll be starting to stress a little bit, but I think the other drivers around him will be stressing a little more at this present stage. So hopefully he sorts it out, or it sorts itself out, and we don't see too many issues in this group. Timothy Vaughan is starting to catch these guys in the back of shot right there in the yellow Mercedes. So he is closing that gap now down to 1.7 seconds to Sanfilippo. So watch out for Timothy Vaughan. He is actually one of the fastest cars on track. Fastest car within the top 10. The second 10. So watch him start to close this gap down as well. Gap at the front now down to 7.2 seconds. Ben Fuller is absolutely on another level at the moment.
He is. That much we can certainly say, but I would say Ugalotti's trying to argue back. That was 0.6 of a second there or thereabouts on that last lap, but up the hill goes this group then looking towards the left-hand bend, which leads to Bill Stein's right, and you can see all the camper vans up there on top where the hospitality is, or the parking, I would say, is for those looking to try and stay at the circuit. But Okomski now up the hill, thinks about getting close, isn't close enough just yet, but is going to wait for that small mistake. Then as that goes through from Kent Nielsen, but he can't capitalise on it, and suddenly Danilo Sanfilippo starts searching for the inside at the Hyundai N-curve. Can't quite get there. All stations stay as they are, but Okomski's got a chance on his front stretch.
Yeah, I don't know if he's quite close enough because Kent Nielsen didn't do too bad a job out of the final corner. He's got to go the long way around. Impossible to get that done around the long way. And now it's opened the door for Danilo Sanfilippo. And have a look at how close Timothy Vaughan's got in this now. Adam Webb's closing too.
Yeah, and there goes the move. Sanfilippo down the inside, trying to get the pass sorted. He's going to be on the wrong side of the road, though, for turn 4. It's a 90-degree right, which really is tight as you go through. And Danilo Sanfilippo has to stay patient and wait. Okomski holds on to station at the moment, and Timothy Vaughan now pounces on the back of Danilo Sanfilippo and says, you know what? I want to get in on the party. I want to try and have a strong race here as well.
100%. Right in it now. Adam Webb's also closed in on this group too. So 5-car battle for top 10 positions. Only 2 of these guys are going to get top 10s at the moment. So they'll all want in on this fight, all want in on this battle, all want in on a position or 2 or 3. It's going to be an interesting fight as we're into the final third of the race. Any one of these guys could legitimately say and take a top 10 position. And you would say that all of them deserve it based on their skill that they've shown throughout this race.
I tell you what, we've got an amazing finale lined up when you consider, Jay. The race for the lead is on. The race for third is on. The race for the top 10 is on. It is all on. The gap's 7 seconds at this point. And I think Suddenly, Matteo Ugolotti has been looking at this and going, all right, I'm going to have to turn up the wick a little bit. Here's the look from Akomski around the outside, trying to get it done. They almost interlock wheels. Up through, he's going to barge his way past Kent Nielsen, who's trying to shut the door. And thank you very much, a freebie for Danilo Sanfilippo, almost making it 2. He might have to do the same thing as he tried last lap. It's not going to be there, but Kent Nielsen's going to now send up the inside. A little bit of argy-bargy between them, but Danilo's going to have to fall back in rank and file.
Wow, what a fight going on here. This is incredible to watch. These guys are losing so much ground, everyone around them, and I don't think they care in the slightest. Adam Webb's just all of a sudden closed in on the group without working too hard. I mean, he did just set his personal best fastest lap, but he hasn't had to work to get up to the group. They've just closed themselves down and allowed him back into the battle. So this is on here for this final top 10 positions. We got 9th through to 13th in the same group.
We certainly do, and it's Lucas Akomski, who, remember, had a spin in the opening couple laps of this race, dropped way back down the order, but here comes the chance then. Kent Nielsen wasn't going to sit by and take no for an answer. He gets it at the chicane, but he's gone too deep once again. Batters over the curb, drops 1, drops 2, drops 3, drops 4 with the slow down penalty. Back to the back of the field you go.
Seen how quickly you can lose a spot. We've seen how quickly you can gain it, though. He's already done it a few times, gone from the back of a group to the front. So don't be surprised if this changes very, very quickly. Here comes Danilo Sanfilippo up the inside. What a beautiful bit of braking from Akomski to hold it around the outside. That's the first time we've seen an outside actually work.
Yeah, and that's the key, because this is one of those corners like turn 2 at Sepang here, Jay, where you've got the track that falls away through the middle of the apex, so that outside line really gives you an opportunity to be flat and put the power down and get settled quicker. Here's Adam Webb's view of Timothy Vaughan just in front, having a little search at turn 6, trying to get a pass, not going to get there. But now as they descend once more down to the Goodyear hairpin, this is where you just got to open up and say, right, we're in a DRS train. I've just got to think about how I find the move when someone overextends in this group.
And we'll see someone do that for sure, because we've seen it already, and we'll see it again, and we'll see it time and time again, all the way right until lap 61. So someone is going to push too hard in this group and drop themselves back in the group. You feel that that's more likely than someone making clean overtakes. So you just feel like there's something in this group is going to give, and it's not going to be pretty for someone. Hopefully it's only one if something bad does happen and it doesn't involve multiple, but I usually say it's my spidey sense is tingling. It's something's happening. Something's going to happen in this group that doesn't feel good.
Well, at the moment, they all stay in single file, so no real chance for a move. A little search into the mirrors from Adam Webb, trying to force a mistake out of Timothy Vaughan. Up the hill at turn 2 into the AMG arena. Aren't going to quite get there at this point. Flicking through turn 3. They all stay single file. Want to keep an eye on Anthony Catt, because last time by, he took 9/10 of a second out of Jordan Gronkowski in the race for the final spot on the podium. Has to push hard, because the Baif is only 5 seconds behind at this stage, and then following that is Marcel Fassbender. So at the moment, Anthony Catt is really driving well the second half of the race. He's trying to bring back in the medium tyres that Jordan Gronkowski's driving on. Gronkowski, 30.9. Anthony Catt, another 8/10, 30.1.
Yeah, he's closed this down very quickly, hasn't he? He's just been eking out seconds by seconds, hasn't he? What, last time we checked, it was around about 6.5 seconds. Now it's down to 2. So Anthony Catt closing in quickly, and he'll deserve a podium finish with his beautiful qualifying effort. Be disappointed he wasn't able to hold on to second position, but if he was to walk away with a P3, and you said before the race started that he would get a P3 or even a P4, I'm sure he would have taken that every single day. So he'll be pretty happy, but he hasn't quite finished the job yet. Still has to make the overtake once he gets there.
He certainly does. There's a bit of traffic in front as well. That's Victor Auad in the number 14 car, still on the white-walled hard compound tyre. So there's certainly still that in terms of trying to dispatch of. And there is Victor Auad running 133s at this moment compared to the 130s that these drivers in and around have been running. It's been a torrid day for Victor Auer, and he'll be hoping that it changes fortunes 2 weeks' time when we head to the Grand Prix of Virginia, the Virginia Grand Prix. So now you start thinking about it. Auer gets well out of it on the brakes, wants nothing of Anthony Cat, and that's some clever driving there by the lap traffic. We don't often talk about that, how much lap traffic has to dive out of the way in a series like this.
It's just great awareness, isn't it? I mean, quite often when you've had a poor race and things haven't gone your way like Victor's had, you get sidetracked and into your own little bubble and don't concentrate on anything but yourself. But that's great awareness from Victor to understand that there was a battle for position, or potential battle for position. Let's get out of the way. I'm in the best seat in the house to watch it. That's not good.
Marco. That's Marco Sanfilippo around at the Vidal chicane, and that is an unforced error by the Italian over the curb, just lifting 2 tyres off the ground, having no grip and spinning the car. It's cost him the place then to James Dempster, who moves back up into 7th position. This is how quickly it can go wrong here. Goes up over the curb. You can see the 2 tyres leaving terra firma, Jay, and that was that.
Yeah, just too much curb, too aggressive on it, and away he went. So he'll be disappointed with that because he's now dropped to 8th position, and he's a fair way back behind Dempster. He's not even close enough that he's going to get DRS once he's back up to speed down the back straight. So he's going to have to work really hard to get this spot. So with the hyperheated tyres as well, he's not that far from having a Komsky and his brother Danilo come into this group as well. So he's really got to be careful over the next little bit. In the lead battle, 6.5 seconds. Ben Fuller not able to make as much ground as he once was, but still half a second a lap gets him there with half a lap to spare, or a lap to spare. So he's really got to start finding those big inroads. Matteo's just doing enough, and I'm wondering if Matteo is just conserving a little bit of tyre to be able to potentially save to come back at this point of the race and push that little bit harder, as Marco has another mistake. He's just lost more ground. Has he got a slowdown penalty, or has he got damage?
I don't know. When it rains, it pours. And at the moment, for Marco Sanfilippo, it is pouring around this Nurburgring circuit for him at this stage. So I think you may have just found that, Jay.
I did.
And we might have a look then on the SimSpeed replay here.
Yeah, this is a huge error, and this is what happens when your tyres are hyperheated and you've got no grip. You just run off the circuit.
Oh, and that is very, very fortunate. You can see how bumpy it is over that section of road, and how he very quickly had to get back into line and sort things out. So that was well done to keep the car going, but now it is Sanfilippo versus Sanfilippo at this moment in time. So this was the look then on the replay, as through went the brother Danilo to move past Marco, and you'd certainly sense at this stage that Marco Sanfilippo is certainly the quicker of the two, but the more consistent of the two is Danilo, as Thomas Veit comes in for a second stop.
I think he's decided that his tyres weren't going to hold on, so he's decided to come in for another stop. Then we zoom back a little bit, have a look how close this is now. Anthony Cat's got DRS. He's right there.
He is there, so suddenly Jordan Gronkowski in the final 13 laps of this race is going to have to get his blocking boots on, because Anthony Cat is there and wants to find a way through onto the podium, having started with his career best that we've seen on SimSpeed TV, 2nd position on the grid. You thought that this might be Anthony Cat's day. Struggled in the opening stint, but when he got back to a sense of, I'm going to drive some clean and consistent laps, he has driven himself back into this race in comparison to Jordan Gronkowski, to the number 20. Couple issues then for Anthony Cat, internet-wise. That's not going to be helping him too much. He's got to have to be really careful as he now climbs back up the hill. Red walls, red rims, it's red everything. He's in red attack mode.
Yep. Like a red rag to a bull. Is that red car in front of him as well? The only non-red on that is the yellow wall medium tyres for Gronkowski, who is at the point where we've seen the real crossover between the soft and the medium earlier on in the race, when he was on the soft and everyone else around him was on the medium. He's now feeling that hurt that he had the huge advantage on earlier of everyone else. So, huge moment.
Huge, absolutely huge. Jordan Gronkowski over the high-raised curb, the Nordschleifer style curb on the exit then of Vidal. And on the run to turn 1 to Yokohama. Here comes Anthony Cat moving to the inside and up onto the podium with that move.
What a beautiful job there to get that done as well. Just applied enough pressure to force an error out of Gronkowski. He was probably looking in the mirrors a little too much and wasn't able to concentrate on his driving all as much as he would like. Forced the error, did Anthony Cat. Gronkowski loses the spot. Through he goes. Positional move done.
Don't count Baif out of this race. He took a second on both those drivers last time around. So if he can move up onto the podium, that would be massive after the spin he had earlier on in this race. And it's getting busy between the Sanfilippo's again out on circuit, because there is Marco down the inside of his brother. He leaves a lot of room for Danilo there, trying to take a big sweeping line through turn 2 and gets the move done. But with Danilo struggling, through goes Timothy Vaughan to the inside. We know how good Danilo is on the outside, though, of turn 3, because it opens up turn 4. But look at the drive off the exit there from Timothy Vaughan. He goes on the outside of 4 to get it done. Here comes the look to the inside. Adam Webb goes through. Danilo Sanfilippo has reached struggle street.
Lost 3 spots in the space of 5 corners, did Danilo Sanfilippo. Lost 1 to his brother at turn 1, lost 1 to Timothy Vaughan at turn 3, and then loses another 1 to Adam Webb at turn 5 and make it 4 in 7 corners. Loses 1 to Kent Nielsen at turn 7. I'm wondering, is there damage on his car, or is he just slow? Is he just struggling with tyres? Danilo pitted one of the last cars in this group to take these soft tyres, so I can't see him struggling for tyres. Has he realised, hey, I'm not going to have enough fuel to make it. I might have to back off to the back of the group and start again?
Yeah, it's got to be fuel, because he doesn't look like he's had an issue out on circuit. He is now just going to have to play that game and play it properly around this racetrack. He is in trouble at this stage. And this is the thing. First race of the season, and one of the very, very cool things about this championship is last year it was the Mercedes W12. This year, the Mercedes W13. It's slightly different.
Yeah, it's a fresh playing field for everyone again. So no fuel saving there into turn 1. So if it was fuel, I would have thought there would have been a bit more fuel saving going on there into turn 1 when it's heavy braking zone like that. So I'm a little confused. I'm sure you're just as equally confused at the moment, Sperry. So this is something we'll have to try and work out over the next 10 laps. I'll tell you what, these guys have been fighting that aggressively. They're at risk of going a lap down. Would you have thought at the start of the race that you could say Danilo Sanfilippo is at risk of going a lap down?
Not easily. I could buy it, but I wouldn't easily buy it. It's the sort of thing you go to a thrift shop and go, I'll have a little browse around before I really stick on it. There's your leader out there trying to put a lap now on one Mr. John Pat Kelly. That is Matteo Ugolotti, and his difference.
One corner between them.
That's where Danilo Sanfilippo is. That's not far. That's about 10 seconds.
Yep, it's one corner. It's the exit of the hairpin to the approach to the, or just out of the exit of the Schumacher S. So there's not much between them. The gap for first and second as well is stabilised as well. So it's now at around 6 seconds. Hasn't really moved too much over the last couple of laps. I'm thinking Ben Full is just conserving the tyres for a really aggressive push right at the end here.
But you also have to think as well that there are more races on the horizon, 22 yet. But here comes the move on Marco. It's Timothy Vaughan looking to go to the inside and get the pass done. And he might be followed here by Adam Webb, who's going to sneak up the inside and get the pass. The Sanfilippo brothers might be struggling on getting this soft tyre to last in its range compared to everyone else. Maybe they've done something with the setup that's a little different to everyone else.
Well, they could... something that I was hearing from a few drivers is you are aggressive in the setup to get the heat into the tyres early in your stint, which we did see a few drivers have really aggressive lap times in their early phases of their stints. It can cause the tyre to not perform later on in your stint, so they may have made that little compromise there and tried something in that aspect, but yeah, I don't know. It's just something doesn't feel right, does it? With both Sanfilippos, have they started the race with a little bit too little fuel? Is that Jason Green off the circuit? It is.
Yeah, he just made the move to 19th position on Victor Awad, and he's done the tried and tested, get it up into 4th gear, find yourself with all the torque in the world in the change of the gear and spin the car around.
Sounds like something I'd do.
Absolutely, something I'd do as well. So let's take a look at this then, so you can see DRS makes the pass there. Victor Awad lets him go, says, I will take the wooden spoon, but as he drives off the exit, snap, there it goes.
How easy did that happen too? Is unfortunate for him, but he's decided to bring it in the pits, get another set of tyres, get a new front wing, and away he goes again. So with brand new fresh soft tyres, he might be able to get that spot back off Victor Awad with 8 laps to go. This is a battle that we hadn't really been paying attention to, but it's closed up very quickly. Oh, Adam Webb's in the wall.
That's a big one for Adam Webb, and it's at turn 2, heading to turn 3. Not a traditional place you see a car go off, and he's had a massive snap of oversteer on the exit of turn 2, and he's put it in the tyres, only gently though, so he's able to keep it going, but has dropped way down the order now, down to 13th place. I'll take another look at it here, and it's so late going through. You're right at the point of power, and then couldn't quite bring it back, because you get that acceleration of grip by turning the wheel the other way to counter steer.
Got bad news. We've seen it again. Jason Green, fresh tyres. What have we seen with cold soft tyres throughout this race? Issues with spinning the car up. Oh, it's unfortunate for him. He's had a shocker. He'll be happy to see the end of this race. So only 8 laps to go. He's only got a few more turns of this circuit. He's just been lapped again, actually, by Matteo Ugolotti. So he'll be thankful that the end of the race is nigh. Gap at the front. I said that Ben Fuller might have been saving the tyres to have a second run at it right at the end. I've got a feeling I might be right.
Yeah, it's now down to 5.3, and it's the lap traffic that comes into play and gives itself a little look. Akomsky had a chance at turn 1 as well. Couldn't quite manage it then, as we find ourselves at 7 laps to go here at the Nurburgring. This on your screen is the race for 7th position overall, and an important 7th place for 2 drivers with 2 very different contrasting fortunes over the course of this race tonight.
Yeah, Dempster almost where he started in 8th. He's up into 7th, and Akomsky started in 5th and has dropped back to 8th. So he'll be looking to get that swapped around. Dempster won't be wanting to give up the spot. Both pitted pretty similar laps as well, 24 and 21 respectively for Dempster and Akomsky. So I think this is game on in this battle here. This is going to be a fantastic watch all the way to the end of the race. I don't know if Akomsky's got enough right at the end to get the move done, because Dempster has been great in defence throughout.
Yeah, James Dempster's been really, really solid, and Akomsky, if anyone is going to try and find that move, it's going to be him. Up through then the Vidal chicane, heading to the Hyundai N curve, trying to get as much drive as possible. You see how much curb is taken on that outside. You really want to dip down in and get that sense of rushing through with the ground effect on these machines. DRS in full bore. Here comes Akomsky. He's going to go the long way around, trying to make this pass. Dempster matches him on the brakes, and on the outside, because he's got the whole shot, I should say, he just holds on to that place. Just behind that, you've got Marco Sanfilippo versus Kent Nielsen, but I want to keep an eye out on Aurelian Baif in 5th place, because the gap's under 2 seconds between him and Gronk.
Yeah, medium's now really starting to struggle for Jordan Gronkowski, starting to really feel the pain that we saw drivers feel when they were getting towards the latter stage of their medium tyre stint in the first phase of the race. So this is where the softs really come into their own. Mediums start to struggle or don't have the performance. Not necessarily struggle, they just don't have the performance that we see in the difference, down to 1.5 seconds. And closing quickly. Across the line, half a second advantage.
Yeah, a 30.4 by Aurelian Baif, a 30.9 by Jordan Gronkowski. And it is telling right now how they are looking to close down the margins in the final stages here at the Nurburgring. They'll be looking at the Grand Prix of Virginia 2 weeks from today, the second round of the championship. And who will want to go away from this meeting here on a Friday night a little bit happier? Down the hill then at turn 6, and Baif trying to chase back down. He was up as high as 3rd position at one point in this race here, Jay. And of course, he had that spin that dropped him back 4 places.
Yep, definitely did. So looking to get those positions back. So many battles. I don't know where we should be watching. There's so many battles that have heated up here. We've got this one here. We've got Akomsky and Dempster. We've got Nielsen and Sanfilippo. We've also got this here as a move. Chiapolone up the inside of John Pat Kelly. Move done.
Yeah, move done right in front of Ben Fuller. The gap now down for the race lead to 5 seconds with 5 laps to go. It's going to need a bit of help here for Ben Fuller, but we have seen stranger things happen around this circuit. 1999 comes to mind in the real world, Jay, when it was the Stewart F1 team that won the race.
I don't remember that. That's how long ago that was. I'm not saying it's before my time because I'm older than you, but I didn't remember that. So, yeah, there's always been strange things happen in sim racing at this circuit too. We've always seen bizarre ends to the race, and with this layout as well, that chicane at the end of the circuit has taken so many victims. This race is not done, even though it is at 5 seconds. 4.5 now, half a lap, gain half a second.
Half a lap, half a second. That's on cue for Ben Fuller. He's still got to dispatch.
He's going to get DRS too.
He is. He's going to get it with with Yestin Chiapolone, and that's going to be big as he goes
didn't.
through. I don't think he's got it. So no, he wasn't at 1 second at the activation marker. Will he be though this time as he hits the brakes up through the left and the right? 4.7 seconds. It now gets busy around the groups because now having a little bit of a search there was Marco Sanfilippo, Kent Nielsen
through.
Now through and up into 10th place. So he's got the final spot in the top 10. And keep an eye out on Gronk and Baif. That gap has just fluctuated back out again. We'll take another look then at the move, and it looked pretty plain sailing where you consider, here's the drive off the exit. Oh, he just had no turn. Yeah,
he's got nothing left in the tyres, has he? I think the Sanfilippos have just gone too aggressive with the setup in regards to the soft tyre, just not performing in the way that they would like at the latter phase of a soft tyre stint. Considering their tyres are, 23 laps old each. You compare that to Matteo Ugolotti, who is now on his 30th lap in this stint. There's no comparison, is there? They're just not the same. They're not in the same league at the moment.
No, there's going to be a lot of work to do to try and get those tyres back in range with those up at the front of the field. But at the moment, James Dempster here with 4 to go, still holding on. We'll take another look. This is Corey Sharbo. Then getting into a bit of trouble. Oh, that's a heavy hit down the hill. And it's because you plateau out that makes it a very, very scary moment. And that right in front of Ben Fuller.
Yep. And that hurt Ben Fuller as well in regards to time. He lost around about half a second from that spin just to make sure he didn't make contact. Seen some weird spins. So I'm guessing from what I've read, I haven't driven the car, so I'm not sure. And I didn't drive the previous version of the car. But there is a fair bit of difference in regards to rear grip between the two cars from what I've heard from a lot of the drivers. And some drivers may not quite be up to standard. I was going to say up to grip, but that would have been a bad pun. Up to standard with the car, not quite understanding how the rear grip is performing and working as much as the old car. So we'll see throughout the season. I'm sure drivers will get a little bit more used to it. And I think next week, next round at VIR as well, will definitely be a difference maker too.
Baif is within a second, and that's big for Gronkowski, who has been holding off and holding off and holding off in this race, but 4th place might just be a bridge too far. On the power goes the Frenchman from Ile de Réunion in France. Here comes the look. Gronkowski tries to cover the inside, but Baif goes down the inside anyway and takes 4th place away.
Beautiful move there to get that done. Into 4th position. And now we'll try to break away with that medium tired car of Gronkowski starting to really struggle. His lap time's not bad, but they're just not quite at the level of everyone else around him. Akomsky's the closest he's been as well into the final corner, so this could be a move into turn 1 if he can get the drive. He has. And look at the defense from James Dempster.
Dempster all the way to the inside. He knows that he's got 2 laps left on his race, or 3 laps left on his race, sorry, to try and figure out how he holds on with that defense. He's managing fantastically at this point. The group that is there behind, but for the moment, Akomsky, who's just got to get a little closer. He's a couple tenths of a second too far back to really make anything happen in the final stages of this one. For Matteo Ugolotti at the front of the field with 2 laps to go, it's literally just keep it on the island. He can have a couple slow laps and still take the victory here, Jay, by a couple seconds.
Yep. Still, sorry, I'm just slightly distracted because I've been looking at lap times for Marco Sanfilippo and also looking on other screens as well. Marco Sanfilippo almost got the move done on Kent Nielsen at turn 1. So if our suspicions around fuel were correct, we're not saying that they are, but if it has been fuel that they've been worried about, they might have reached the limit where they're now, hey, we're okay, we can push on. So sorry to go away from your point there, Sperry, but Sanfilippo's back in it.
They certainly are, and I'm sure for Marco, he's going to need these laps to be fantastic going through onto his lap 60 of this race. Flying through this section of track, they will look behind and know that one Mr. Matteo Ugolotti will be starting the last lap of his race, lap 61 of 61 in the season opener, the European Grand Prix here at the Nurburgring. And for Matteo, what he has been working on here this season, he knows he has driven an absolutely fantastic race from start to finish. Got bottled up at the start, had to work. You can see the tyres are struggling. He's sliding through all the corners. So he's now going to be in a case of, well, we're going to have to wait. Adam Webb all of a sudden is back in the race. He's got eyes on Danilo Sanfilippo in front. So that could be one for position worth just keeping an eye out on here in the late stages. And so too, Jordan Gronkowski. Well played as through goes one Mr. Adam Webb to get the place. Gronk's not going to have enough, I don't think, to attack on this final lap. The tyres just don't have enough grip left, and Aurelian Baif just has enough drive to get away at this stage. James Dempster, though, still going to have to play the defensive game with Lukasz Okomski, who is still there, still shadowing, but never has truly quite got in a range, waiting in the wings as Timothy Vaughan to capitalise. Or you might just go now and catch him napping. Try and go around the outside here on the penultimate lap to get a move done. Isn't going to quite find what the Magic needs. But Matteo Ugolotti now will crest the rise of the hill, heading to the Vidal chicane, the left and the right. He knows that Hyundai N-curve remains, and he will say at the start of his championship season, I am the driver to beat. Matteo Ugolotti wins at the Nurburgring and takes the European Grand Prix.
Great race in the end there too. Well done to he and to Ben Fuller for a fantastic battle from start to finish. It's great to watch. A great fight the whole way through. This battle is not done. This is for 7th. Have a look at how quick Timothy Vaughan's closed up to these guys. So this is now a 3-car fight all the way to the finish.
It absolutely is, but he runs wide through turn 6, and all of that work is gone. 0.3 of a second now will extend to 0.9 of a second in just one corner. Dempster now tried to prioritise, exiting every corner with pace. There is a chance up the hill to go and gain a couple places to get as much as possible out of it. But is there going to be enough on the brakes? No chance then going through. I have just noticed then going through the final section that Baif and Gronkowski made contact at the final chicane. So we'll have a look at that over the line, or just after we're done with this battle, because it's not close enough for Okomski. How late on the brakes does Timothy Vaughan want to go? You got one chance left, the Hyundai N-curve. Try and find that move, and Dempster is going to hold on, will hold on, heading to the line.
Just seen 2 off screen. As Marco Sanfilippo loses a spot on the last lap to Adam Webb. Marcel Fassbender ran out of fuel on the start-finish straight as well, so he was really tight on that fuel load. And I'll tell you what, I think not alone. I think a few drivers were right on the limit with fuel right at the end, but here's what you were just talking about, Sperry.
So you can see Gronkowski's there, making a big mistake up over the top of the curb. That would have been enough for Baif to have maybe lost the position. Gronkowski just turned up on the scene too quick. He could have snatched the position if there was just a little bit more choice and found a way to the inside. Good, though, work from both of them to get a 4th and a 5th. But that is what makes great racing. It's all the way to the end. Let's get confirmation of result then here from the Nurburgring. the season opener here in the Eifel Mountains of Germany. Matteo Ugolotti in 1 hour, 32 minutes and 41 seconds wins the race by 4.2 over Ben Fuller. And note that Ben Fuller lost 5 seconds in his spin today. It's cost him championship points up at the top. Anthony Katt will take a brilliant podium finish here today in third, with Aurelien Baif finishing fourth just ahead of Jordan Gronkowski. We saw what happened between them on the final lap. Marcel Fassbender would run out of fuel in sixth, with James Dempster holding off the train behind of Luka Szykomski, who had to rally back from an early spin to get to 8th place, with Timothy Vaughan in 9th and Kent Nielsen rounding out the top 10 in this field. He would beat out his teammate Adam Webb, who had to navigate past both Marco and Danilo Sanfilippo in the final laps of the race, who are the last finishers on the leading lap in 12th and 13th. And a lap down in this one was Yestin Chiapalone, who had to deal with John Pat Kelly all race long, Corey Sharbo, who was right up there at the top of the field, Thomas Veek, Paul O'Regan, Victor Alad, who had the damage, pitted onto the hard compound tyres, and the one retiree from this race, Jason Green, falling into troubles over the course of today's race. Well, the iRacing Grand Prix Tour has got itself off and kicked off to a fantastic start here, Jay. The opening round from the European Grand Prix has been great. And crucially, you've got two drivers up at the top of the field in Matteo Ugolotti and Ben Fuller. They are going to trade wins all season long.
Yeah, if that's a prelude to the rest of the season, bring it on. It's going to be fantastic. Cannot wait. Next round, 2 weeks' time, same place, same channel. We will be at VIR, as you said. I'm looking forward to seeing how the brand new VIR will go, as it's brought a lot of love back to that circuit. It's going to be fantastic. You catch it here next week, in 2 weeks' time.
In 2 weeks' time, of course, with us. And one thing I will certainly note is, while they have lost the oak tree, the spirit still remains on what is an incredibly tough circuit to go out there and race. High speed, and it is all about staying in connection. But that's going to get it done for us here tonight with SimSpeed TV. Want to pay a massive thanks to everyone who has been watching and joining in, and of course for the super chat that we've had over the course of today's action. But it is going to be Ugolotti's night to shine here on the opening round. Will take the result that is needed. Ben Fuller will kick himself that he's thrown points away early, but this is a long season with a lot of opportunities to go and get the results later on. We'll see you 2 weeks from today when round 2 at the Virginia International Raceway takes us to the Grand Prix of Virginia.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.